A very pretty and colourful world and relaxing to play, but no real backbone to support it. Welcome to Lantern. This is a slow-paced and calm adventure title in which you play as a Chinese lantern floating through various seasons, spreading colour to the land and waking it from its slumber. It does have a story which takes place between the levels, though there is no narrative and it is entirely communicated by stationary images with gradients or single animations. It seems to show a lady crying for a reason that isn't entirely clear, and a man releasing a lantern which makes its way to her, spreading enjoyment and colour as it goes. So when I first started out in Lantern, I found the controls to be a little clumsy and awkward. It seemed to be much easier to move upwards rather than down, and I had a tendency to drift upwards over time. I think the reason behind this is that you need to move the mouse a significant amount in order to get a change in direction. This could be solved by changing the DPI on your mouse, but ultimately, since it's something particularly to suit the game, it should really be in the options. The solution I found to this particular problem was simply using a controller instead, as this allowed me to make much faster direction changes. Once I had got that initial problem out of the way, the purpose of the game wasn't entirely clear from the get-go. I spent a good few minutes floating around not really understanding what the purpose was, simply that there was a village and I could spread colour to it, and as I did, the pillar in the middle charged up. It turns out that the purpose is to spread colour specifically to the houses surrounding the large pillars, and once you've covered all of them you get a short animation showing a predefined panning shot over the village, and sometimes it also includes opening a door through to the next area. The most you get in terms of instruction is simply that you can move by pressing space, and you can click left and right mouse buttons which have little symbols to demonstrate what they do, but they don't really make a great deal of sense until you actually use them. The special abilities consist of one which lets out a blast in all directions around the lantern, colouring the vicinity, and is very useful when you're in the centre of a village, but can also lead to some confusion if you happen to miss one right on the edge of the village. And the other ability is simply a speed boost, handy for traversing from village to village. There really isn't a great deal more to it. You can also search the areas for runes which are hidden on the levels. There are 4 in each season to find, and once you've collected them, you can fly up to the temple by following the golden trails from the rune, and it will translate the message on the little board. It's your usual kind of fortune cookie / horoscope kind of stuff. One of the best things about this entire game is the soundtrack, which varies between very grand and relaxing pieces in the story segments, and similar in the gameplay but with a slight electronic backing to it to give it a little boost. It certainly adds to the experience as a whole and makes it a very relaxing and calming game. I also tried it in VR, which is somewhat a mixed bag. I think it works well and is very enjoyable, but it was quite nauseating, particularly when you're moving downwards, presumably because you're not actually moving, and in the game you are. The reason I think it works well is because it gives you a good opportunity to look around and explore the environment as you pass through it, whereas when you're just playing on a normal monitor you're stuck with the lantern at the forefront all the way through. VR just seems to give you that little bit more of freedom. I do also have a few niggly problems, like the menu taking forever to pan in. It's not even a particularly detailed screen, it's not like it's worth spending time looking at. I would have rather just jumped straight into the game and not have to look at the bland and empty inside of a shack. And I think the effect of having a coloured trail following the lantern is a great addition, and would have liked for it to take a little while longer to fade out, or even save it until you've completed an area, as it would make for some great panning shots with the swirls and patterns over the top. This is evident on the few occasions where I managed to catch a glimpse of what it could look like. The game is also incredibly short, and aside from it being quite pretty and a nice environment to swirl around in, there really is no reason to ever come back to it. I completed the game and discovered all of the runes in 2.5 hours, which admittedly isn't bad if you're buying it for a VR game, as it's longer than most, but compared to most other real games, it's not that great. Lantern is a very nice game. It's pleasant to explore, it's colourful and pretty and quite a different experience, but it's difficult to recommend based on this alone because it also feels somewhat empty. There's no purpose to any of it, there's no actual meat to any of the story or the game. I suspect some of the reason behind it being a relaxing and calming game is because of these things, but I don't think it would have hurt to put a little bit more story in behind it, some sort of magical, fantastical curing power of the lanterns, or explain that her sadness made colour run out of the world. I enjoyed my time playing it, but by the time I'd got to the 4th season I was thinking, is this it? Because for the full duration of the game you're doing the exact same thing. There's no progression, there's no scaling difficulty. It's an interactive experience rather than a game. If you like the look of it and you can get over the lack of reason, it's worth a try. There is also a demo which will give you a much better idea of what you're getting into.